Have you ever seen a single photo blow up into a huge news story and wondered, how did they figure all that out? Or how do cybersecurity pros find threats hiding online? Well, a lot of the time, the secret sauce is something called open source intelligence, or OSINT. And in this explainer, we're going to build your study guide for becoming a digital detective.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with what it even means to be a digital detective. Then we'll get practical and walk through the 5 main steps of any investigation. We'll look at some cool tools you can use, talk about the super important ethical lines you can't cross, and finally, see how these skills translate into actual jobs.
All right, let's dive right in. What exactly is this skill? You know, the one that's a secret weapon in so many different fields. It's time to pull back the curtain on OSINT.
Okay, so here's the textbook definition. At its core, OSINT is all about finding, sifting through, and making sense of information that's already out there in the public domain. We're talking websites, social media, public records, you name it. The goal is to turn all that noise, all that raw data, into something genuinely useful. I absolutely love this quote because it just nails it. This isn't about hacking or breaking into secret databases. It's about being a detective, piecing together a puzzle with clues that are, believe it or not, often hiding in plain sight. And make no mistake, this isn't just for some niche hobby. OSINT is a critical skill in so many important jobs. Cybersecurity pros use it to see threats coming. Investigators, both public and private, use it to build their cases. Businesses use it to keep an eye on the competition, and journalists, well, they depend on it to find and verify their stories. So now we know what it is. Let's get to the good stuff. How do you actually do it? This next part is your roadmap, a step-by-step guide for your very first case.
Think of this, like we're opening your first case file. You see, the real key to OSINT isn't just having a bunch of fancy tools. It's about how you think. It all boils down to a clear, structured process. And this is that process. This is the playbook for pretty much any digital investigation. First, you define your goal. Then, you figure out where to look. After that, you gather up the data, you check if it's actually true, and finally, you write it all down. Let's break each of these down.
Step 1. You have to know what you're actually looking for. If you just wander into the internet without a clear goal, you're going to waste a ton of time. So, are you trying to find out where a video was filmed, or are you digging into a company's online presence? A clear goal is your compass for the whole investigation. Okay, once you know your mission, you can start thinking about where the clues might be hiding. If you're looking into a person, social media is probably a good bet. If it's a corporation, you might lean more on public records or news archives. It's all about matching the place to the problem. And now the hunt begins. This is when you're actively collecting those breadcrumbs. You're using specific keywords, searching hashtags, looking for connections between different accounts, and paying super close attention to little things like geotags on photos. You'd be surprised how often a tiny detail can crack a case wide open.
Now this is maybe the most important one. It's what separates the real pros from the amateurs. Just because you found something online doesn't make it true. You have to verify it. The rule of thumb? Try to find at least 2, or even better, 3 totally separate sources that all point to the same fact. Only then can you start to trust it.
All right, so you've got the process down cold, but you don't have to do everything by hand. While your brain is always going to be your #1 tool, there are some pretty amazing digital aids out there that can make your job a whole lot easier.
So let's take a quick look in the toolbox. You've got incredible visualization tools like Multigo that literally draw you a map of how different pieces of data are connected. You have things like the OSINT framework, which is basically a giant library of resources. Then there are specialized search engines like Shodan that look for devices connected to the internet. But honestly, never ever underestimate the power of a really good Google search. Learning advanced search tricks is a skill that will pay off forever. This brings us to a really serious topic. Maybe the most important part of this whole guide. Having these skills gives you a certain amount of power, and with that comes a huge responsibility to be ethical and to follow the law.
Let's be crystal clear. The line between ethical and unethical is bright, and it is obvious. OSINT is about looking at publicly available information, stuff that's out there for anyone to see. It is not hacking. It's not guessing passwords or trying to get into private accounts. Using these skills to do things like stalk someone or dox them, which means dumping their private info online, that's not just wrong, it can be illegal.
This right here, this is the quote you need to burn into your brain.
Just because you can access something doesn't always mean that you should. Just because a piece of information is out there doesn't give you a free pass to do whatever you want with it. You always have to think about the impact of your actions.
So, you've got the framework, you understand the tools, and you know the ethical rules of the road. You might be wondering, okay, this is cool, but what's the point? Well, this isn't just a hobby. These skills are incredibly valuable and in high demand.
Seriously, the job opportunities are everywhere. Whether you're interested in cybersecurity, journalism, corporate intelligence, law enforcement, you name it, OSINT is a fundamental skill. Getting good at this stuff can open doors to some of the most fascinating and important jobs you can imagine.
So there you have it. We've gone over the what, the how, and the why. You now have the basic framework for how a digital detective thinks. The internet is this huge ocean of information, just full of mysteries waiting for someone to solve them. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to investigate first?